choroiditis.
Good evening to all of you. At the outset, I'd like to congratulate Dr. Uni and his Chaitanya team for organizing this wonderful meet. Thanks for the invitation. ICG angiography uses the infrared light. It overcomes the limitations of the fundus fluorescent angiography. This can penetrate the pigments, hemorrhage, study the deeper structures. The ICG dye is protein bound. It reduces the amount of the leakage through the fenestration of the choriocapillaries, for which we can study the choroid in detail. What are the patterns we see? Image interpretation, the commonest is hyperfluorescence, is caused by the leakage, never by the window defects. The RPE window defects is not affected in ICG angiogram. Here we could see the hyperfluorescence coming from the leaking vessels. The next pattern is hypofluorescence pattern. Hypofluorescence slowly increasing is usually associated with choriocapillary leakage. The extensive leakage originating from the large choroidal vessels due to stromal choroiditis. These are the common three patterns we see. So we have early phase where you see the disc hypofluorescence following with filling of the choroidal arteries and capillaries, and mid phase and late phase. In the late phase, we see mostly the diffuse background hyperfluorescence. Now we'll move on to how do we classify choroiditis based on the angiography ICG. Mainly, choriocapillaries inflammation occurs in mutes and APM PPE and other white dot syndromes. In stromal choroiditis, it could be primary stromal choroiditis or a secondary. In primary, VKH, sympathetic ophthalmia and birdshot retinochoroidopathy comes. The secondary to the systemic disease like tuberculosis and sarcoidosis and syphilis can have the effect. We'll see the mutes. Here is IR, and whereas autofluorescence shows more extensive involvement as in the form of hyperautofluorescence lesion. ICG shows staining and leakage from the choroidal vessels with few hypofluorescent spots in the early phase, whereas in the late phase, more extensive involvement evidenced by the presence of hypofluorescent lesions in mutes. The next is a serpiginous choroiditis, where we have a two type of pattern, where we have hypofluorescence surrounded by a choroidal hypofluorescence in case of active lesions. In heel lesions, we can have hypofluorescence due to atrophy of the chorioretinal scar. Here you could see the hypofluorescence which is present in the early, mid and late phases. By the presence of surrounding choroidal inflammations, we can make out the activity of the disease in serpiginous like choroiditis cases. The next, VKH. In VKH, we have a classical multiple pinpoint hyperfluorescence in the early phase on fluorescein, whereas in ICG, we have multiple hyposinus and dark spots or hypofluorescent spots with staining and leakage of the choroidal vessels. This is in the left eye, where we can see the additional choroidal folds and FFA. In the late phase, we could see HDD dots are more in the late phase. The similar way, in addition to that, we could see the choroidal hyperfluorescence in active cases. Here is a montage shows classical disc leak with multiple pinpoint hyperfluorescence with pooling of the dye in case of FFA. The corresponding ICG shows multiple HDD dots, more extensive involvement compared to FFA. Here is a case of a sympathetic ophthalmia, where here we could see the hypofluorescent dark dots with leakage of the choroidal vessels. In late phase, we could see the disc leak and also the choroidal folds with hypersinescence corresponding to the areas of the choroidal vessel leak. Birdshot chorioretinopathy we don't see in our part of our country. Basically, it has rice flake-like appearance. They are distributed along the arcades of the vessels. Here is a schematic diagram showing the granuloma. It's a partial thickness. In a case of a birdshot, here we have early hypofluorescent spots. In the late phase, it becomes iso. Based on this, we can differentiate. Here is a partial thickness granuloma seen in case of birdshot retinochoroidopathy. All hyporeflective dark dots are not active lesions. Even the scars can have this. Based on the ICG morphology, can we differentiate between the two? Yes. In heel lesions, they have different, they are not well-defined dark dots. through which we could see the underlying choroidal vessels. That indicates it is an inactive or a scar lesion. Here is a case of a BKH disease with sunset glow fundus. Visual acuity is 6.6. ICG shows here both well-defined hyporeflective dark dots with few ill-defined spots as well. So how do we differentiate to confirm? So when we do along ICG with OCT, we can confirm. So hyporeflective one is corresponding to the areas of the choreo scar, whereas here hyporeflective lesion in the choroid suggestive of a granuloma in the choroid active inflammation. So when we combine hyporeflective dark spots with OCT, we can differentiate between the two. Next, we'll move on to stromal choroiditis. Here is a case of a sarcoidosis, shows hyporeflective granulomas. In late phase, this hyporeflectivity is well enhanced. So montage showing the FFA and ICG showing the presence of choroidal granulomas in a case of a sarcoidosis. Here is a case of an SLC with CNVM, shows early hyperfluorescence which increases in the late phase suggestive of a CNVM which was confirmed by other imaging modalities. Here is a case of a VKH where the ICG shows active inflammation. Patient receives a treatment, visual acuity is 6.6, OCT is normal. When we do a follow imaging, here the FFA is absolutely fine, where the ICG shows the presence of hyporeflective dark dots suggestive of an active inflammation which helps us to titrate a treatment. So this is the ICG interpretation of an hyperfluorescence in uveitic. Pseudofluorescence is seen in case of a fibrosis or a whole hemorrhage. It could be at the retinal, subretinal or a choroidal level. In retinal, due to the leakage of the vessels occurs in retinal vasculitis. In subretinal could be CNVM or pooling of the dye. In choroidal lesions, it could be leakage, it could be a diffuse hyperfluorescence or focal hyperfluorescence. Coming to the hypofluorescence, if you have intermediate and late hypofluorescence is classically seen in VKH and sympathetic ophthalmia. Whereas if you see intermittent hypo with late ISO is one of the characteristic feature of birdshot chorioretinopathy. Whereas TB and sarcoid can have both the type of presentations. This is a flow chart. Whenever we see intermediate and late hypofluorescence, it could be persistent in case of a scar, whereas chorioretinal non-perfusion can have a varied presentations in APM, BPE and mutes, they can resolve. If in VKH, if it is persistent, is corresponding to the areas of the stromal scar, whereas if the resolution in a case of a TB and sarcoid granuloma. ICG hypofluorescence occurs if there is a non-perfusions in the choriocapillaries or stromal infiltration. If it's partial thickness, we have isofluorescence in late frame, whereas full thickness is an hypofluorescence in the late frame. ICG hypofluorescence is indicative of active inflammation. If there is a disc hypofluorescence, it indicates severe inflammation. To conclude, ICG gives us a different patterns of hypofluorescent dark dots which we can assess the different stages of the disease. It used as an adjunct tool to study the choroidal inflammatory disorders. Thank you for your attention.